So Ishita is asking how the recording for the sessions will be provided. So for this session alone, I'll make sure that the YouTube stream is created since this is going to be the first project support session and we are walking through the problem statement. So I'll upload this recording to the YouTube for sure. But for the next sessions, as I told you, I'm not really sure if those will be recorded or live stream. So based on the nature of the sessions, we'll probably take a call whether they have to be recorded. In case we are recording it, hopefully we'll be able to put them on the YouTube as well. Okay, all right. So now that the recording has been initiated as well, uh, I think I can now start with what I have planned for the today's session. I would like to quickly walk you through the problem statement that is given for this term. Again, I would like to touch upon the same thing that there have been two problem statements that we promised to give, and only one of them has been released so far. We are working on the second problem statement, and that should be released by the end of this week. So I would be walking through the problem statement that is already available with you all. That is going to be ticket. I know you guys will be having a lot of queries with respect to project and all, but I would like to quickly finish that walkthrough of the problem statement, and hopefully this is going to answer many of your doubts. But still, in case you have anything else, we can probably take those doubts at the end of the session. But in case you have any doubts related to what we are discussing currently, please interrupt me or please raise your hand and let me know if you have any questions. Uh, so I'll start sharing my screen. So can someone please confirm if my screen is properly visible? I have opened the PPT.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Perfect. Slideshow here. All right. So as you all are aware that the current problem statement for AppDev 2 project is ticket show V2. The other problem statement would be released shortly by the end of this week. That is going to be, I guess, grocery store V2. But for now, we are focusing on this ticket show application. Uh, Okay. So those of you who have completed the AppDev 1 project in just the immediate previous term, that is Jan 23 term, uh, you would have worked on a ticket show application, and you also have been given the opportunity to work on this ticket show application here in this term, in case you have completed your project in the previous term for AppDev. So the theme is going to remain same, but we have modified the requirements for the project as per the standards of the uh, modern application development 2 course, and of course the tech stack has been modified a little. So firstly, we are going to talk about the technology stack that can be used for this given project. So Flask has to be mandatorily used for the backend for the API implementation. Uh, Many of you tend to ask questions like if it is mandatory to use Flask RESTful in order to create an API. It is not mandatory. You could even work with simple Flask routing, and you could return JSON responses from those. That is also acceptable. So not an issue at all. The second thing is you have to use Vue.js for UI. You can also go with Vue CLI in case you think you are finding it easy and it is going to make your development process easier. But please only go for this option in case you are finding it easy, because I have personally seen that people tend to struggle a lot when they get into Vue CLI without you know going through the detailed uh, construct of Vue.js as such through the documentation. So please go to Vue CLI or please transit to Vue CLI only after when you have completed Vue.js CDN part. So most of this course, the theory course I'm referring to, is going to do the development or the demonstrations using the CDN of Vue.js. We will also be touching upon how you can set up projects with Vue CLI and can do certain stuff, but that is just going to be one tutorial or probably a couple of them. Otherwise, the course is majorly going to focus on using the CDN version of Vue.js, and that is what the recommendation is going to be in case you don't have experience using these technologies before. Jinja 2 templating won't be allowed on the UI, but you can use Jinja 2 templating for some other purposes like preparing the monthly reports if needed. We'll talk about that part in a later part of the session. You can also use Bootstrap only if required, and you cannot use any other CSS or JavaScript framework apart from Bootstrap in order to style your application. So Tailwind, CSS, and any other option is not allowed for this project. The data storage has to be SQLite. No other data storage would work. The Redis has to be used for caching, and salary along with Redis have to be used for batch jobs. So as you might be aware of that salary framework, it basically does not directly run on the Windows operating system and it requires some mixed settings. So you would be required to simulate a Linux kind environment even in case you are using a Windows operating system. So in that case, you will have to install WSL Windows subsystem for Linux in your Windows operating system so that you are able to work with things like salary. So it is mandatory for all of you to simulate a Linux kind of environment while giving demo or a demonstration of your project in any of the bypass, be it level 1 or level 2. So, of course, you will also have to make sure that you get these things ready before you start the development for your project. We can also give you a guide on how you can install the WSL in Windows operating system. For that, you require at least Windows 10. It won't work on Windows 7 or something. So you must be having at least Windows 10 in order to make WSL work in your operating system. Okay, so these are the technologies that you are supposed to use in order to complete this project. May I know if any one of you has any questions with respect to the technology stack?
Sir, can you explain fourth point? Ginger to template, Ginger to template, but not for UI.
Yeah, that means you should not be using the Jinja 2 templates for the application purpose, for the UI purpose that you are showing or displaying to the end user of the app. But you can use these Jinja 2 templates when you will be designing the monthly engagement reports or monthly entertainment report, this thing, uh, while working with batches. We'll talk about what it is in a later part of the session when we'll come to that particular feature.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, caching is mostly used to optimize the performance of the application
Yeah.
and Celery also. So I wanted to know if it's like Celery has a different purpose, but what I mean to ask is if it's completely necessary to use Redis and Celery in the application, or if we can make do without it as well.
The recommendation is going to be to, of course, make use of both of these because in the previous terms, the rubrics, that you will be evaluated on during your level 1 Viva and which is mandatory for you to pass in order to get to the next stage, that is level 2 Viva. So the cutoff marks for level 1 Viva, they are around 70%. So they are, usually set in a manner that a person who has not done any implementation for Redis and Salary will not be able to make it. Right?
Okay,
So
okay.
please keep this thing in your mind and implement at least one of the features with Redis
All
and
right.
Zen.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, just to give a clarification, salary is not used for the same purpose as of Redis. So Redis, as you rightly mentioned, it is a in-memory store, and we will be using it for the caching purpose. Of course, we can have multiple types of backends for doing the caching, but Redis is what we are going to choose as the database or in-memory database for storing the cached results. Whereas Celery is a asynchronous task queue implementation, and we'll be mostly using it for the batch processing of jobs.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, like you said that you will send us a guide for WSL for Windows. So,
Mhm.
like, if we have to do a development on WSL, then can you release a guide on that, like how we can use a Windows, like
So you
Virtual
can
Studio
access
or
your
yeah,
files, etc. from your Ubuntu terminal is what you are asking.
yeah, like any guide you can release for that. How, like for example, I use Virtual Code, like MS Virtual Code. So, how will I use that on WSL?
Uh, okay, I may not be aware of all sorts of IDs or the applications that you use for development, but whatever things that we usually work with. So the IDE that we'll be working with is going to be Visual Studio Code or Python, and we will be able to give you a demonstration for at least these two IDs, as we may not be aware of all other IDs or the applications that you might be using. So I hope once we are able to give you demonstrations based
Okay.
on the IDs or the software that we are using, you should be able to simulate the same on your
Yeah.
systems.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, I
I
have a doubt. Shall I ask?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sir, regarding UI, I'm preparing .js files, and inside there will be template and data. mounted methods like Vue.js only, but I'm using .js files for UI. Is it okay?
But you are using
.js files, sir.
.js files. Okay, so I still could
Like
not understand the question.
because I'm seeing that Vue.js, I'm using Vue only in main index file. I'm giving CLI for Vue, and remaining I'm using .js files
So you are using
because
Vue
in
CLI and you are using .js files. Is it what you are saying?
yeah.
Uh, I'm not sure how does this work. Means how can you do CLI development without using .vue files? You need to work with .vue files in case you are working with Vue CLI. I don't think .js files would work. Uh,
Sir, at the end of this session, I want to show at least one page which I created. Uh,
all right, we'll
at
probably
the
take it at
end
the end.
of this, okay.
All right, there was one more person who was asking a question that time.
Sir, this is Bala.
No, no. Even apart from you, there was one more person who was asking a question that time. So any questions at this point?
So I have a question.
Hmm.
So actually, I have a Windows system, and I'm making my project on Visual Studio Code. So basically, what I thought is that I'll finish making the project, and then it might be difficult for me to, like, because I'm already used to development on Windows, and I started making my project already. So a little bit of it is done, and I thought that maybe after I'm satisfied with what I've made, after that I can use WSL to sort of work with Redis and Celery. So do you think that idea will work?
Absolutely, no problem at all. So of
Okay.
course, but the code that you will be writing, you can write it on any ID. It doesn't matter. You will be requiring the help of a go-to when you want to start services like salary and bits. That is where you will be needing this.
Can you repeat, sir?
So you will be needing this Ubuntu terminal help when you will be starting
Okay.
services like Redis or salary, etc. So
Yeah.
if you have some salary integration in your application and you want that file to be run, so in that case, you will have to make sure that your operating system supports it. That is why.
Okay. So, like on my Windows system itself, I can work with Celery, and just to run it, I can use Ubuntu.
Uh, yes, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Sir, one question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, at least like I am completely new to these terms, though I have completed Mad One project. So like I mean, for us, like we like students, we need little support from you, like installing this. I don't have any clue about all this Reddish, and I'm hearing for it for the first time. Even Vue.js. So do we get that support, sir? Like if we mail you regarding some problem or any code, would you help us?
Definitely, we would do every possible thing from our end so that you can progress with your project. But there is just one recommendation from my end here, Rajni. I think that you are doing the theory course in this term along with the project course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the first thing is that I think we will have to take a call. It is going to be really hectic for you, as we have already discussed this thing in the project orientation sessions that we hosted
Yeah, I know
the
that,
last
sir.
week.
But yeah, but actually, I have already done Mad One. Last time I have taken theory and project and I have completed. So again, if I take the, I mean, if I don't do it this term, then the problem, the statement will be changed, sir. Like again, I have to work from scratch. So that is the reason I opted for project law so
I,
that I can work same ticket show problem.
I understand Priyadashini, but the requirements for NAT1 project they were completely different, and for NAT2, of course, they are
Yeah,
much
it
more
is.
different than
Yeah,
that of NAT1. one,
completed
because
it.
for Mat 1 you probably didn't require knowledge till later weeks. I guess the knowledge till week 6 was more than sufficient for
Yeah,
you to
yeah,
complete the project as per the
more.
requirement.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But this time it's not the case. You will have to go through the entire course content, probably till the end of week 11, in order to complete the core requirements of the application. Right. So if you are planning to submit the project in the same term, as you know, the deadline is going to be August 8th. I don't know whether it is the end of week 8 or week 9, what it is. I don't really know at this point. So you will have to make sure that you are going ahead of the course content, since you are supposed to make or basically complete the project by the end of week 8 is what you should be planning here. And that's why you will have to make sure that you cover the entire week 12 contents even before week 6 or week 7 in order to complete and submit the project well before the deadline.
Mm-hmm. Right, sir.
All
So
right, so
let's
this is
see,
going to
sir,
be my
how much I can do.
recommendation.
Yes, and I know
Uh,
that, but just because the problem statement will get changed, so that is the reason I opted for it.
all right, sure. Okay, so I hope I was able to answer all of your doubts related to the technology stack that we are going to use for this project. I would like to proceed further with the problem specification. So as you all know, it is going to be a ticket show application. Uh, I hope most of you would have heard about Book My Show, or would have explored or used that app at least once in your life. So the idea of this ticket show application is going to be very much similar. So the idea is, or theme is, that you have to build an application where two entities or two types of entities could interact with each other, where one entity is going to be the store managers, or not actually the store managers, basically the admins of the application, or you can even say the owners of theaters. And the other type of category of people we are looking at is basically the end users, people like us, who will be making use of that application in order to make online bookings for given shows in given theaters. Right, this is the entire idea. So this application should support both of these types of user. That means the theater owners, whom we are calling as admin here, and the end users who will be booking these tickets. Right. So the idea is that the theater owners should be able to list their theater in the application, and they should also be able to list down the shows that their theater is currently offering, or probably will offer for the next days, or probably for the next weeks, or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. And similarly, as a user, I want to get that listing. I want to get that list in front of my eyes, and I want to see which show I'm interested in, and which shows I would like to watch, and what all tickets I want to book, how many tickets I want to book, things like that. So this is the perspective from a end user here. Of course, both of them are the end user. Even the theater owner is also an end user for this application. But we are treating them as admins for this application, whereas end users, those who will be booking those tickets or will be seeing those listings, etc., for their own entertainment purpose, are the other category of people. Okay. So, as it rightly mentions, that the user can book any number of tickets for any given show in a given theater, and admin should be able to create theaters as well as list shows under the theaters that they have created. Okay. If you talk about the DB design for this application, so a very broad idea is going to be that you should be having two tables. One is for theater, the other one is for shows. Of course, you will have to maintain a table for user as well. That is something we have not provided here, as we assume that is going to be a mandatory requirement for any application that you make. So theater can have these many attributes like ID, name, place, capacity. So capacity is going to be uh, it can even be based on the number of basically theaters, or the number of auditoriums or the halls that are available inside a given theater. So currently we are assuming that there is going to be a single theater, or there is going to be a single hall, and you have to assume that there is only a single hall, and you will be hosting all the shows within that hall only. In case you want to move one step further and say that my application is going to allow say multiple show bookings at a given time in the single theater. So that means in that case, each theater is going to have multiple halls. That is something we have not incorporated here, or we have not put in as a core requirement. But that is something that you can think about, or can go one step further and implement this. But this is what we are expecting. We are not expecting you to go to that that front end also implement every theater having multiple calls. So this is just some sample attributes that we are providing, as the reference that you can use, so that each of your table can have at least these many things. Apart from that, you can also have some additional attributes as the things go. So every theater can run a number of shows, and system will automatically show the latest added shows to the end users of the application. So the terminology says that it is going to be a ticket booking platform. Theater is going to list down all the shows that are currently running, the capacity for each of that. The show will be having certain properties associated with it. There may be a concept of dynamic pricing. I hope I don't really need to talk about dynamic pricing, as you might all will be aware about it. So dynamic pricing is if you find that a show is getting a lot of good reviews or engagement from the end users. So the pricing for booking the next set of tickets for this given show should automatically increase. So that let's say if the show started with a ticket price of 100 and you see that the engagement for the users for that particular show is increasing drastically, you may increase the price from 100 to 120 or something. So this is how you can even maintain the dynamic pricing. Similarly, the price can even go down in certain cases. However, it does not happen. But yeah, you can think of it possibly. We have also provided some sort of wireframe here. I'll probably look at the wireframes at the end when I'm done walking through this PPT. Right now, I'm skipping to the next slide. So the similar products that are there in the markets are Book My Show, as you might have heard about, and Ticket New is another application that you can refer to in order to gain some basic understanding of how such applications work. So these are all the core functionalities that you will be evaluated on during your level 1 or level 2 vivas. So the first thing is user sign up and login. So there should be a feature in the application that should allow a given user, an end user of this application, to sign up or log in on this application. Apart from that, there is a requirement of putting an RBAC so that you can really differentiate between uh, who is an admin or who is a user, so that you can accordingly show the required options depending on their rules. Let's say if an admin is trying to log in, the admin should get an interface to create a new theater, to add new shows, etc., etc. Whereas if an end user is trying to log into the application, the user should not be shown. If you want to create a new theater or if you want to create a new show, the user should be directly shown what all theaters or shows are available to. Then theater and show management. Of course, this is going to be for admin. Booking show tickets has to be given as a feature for the users who will be booking tickets. Search for shows and theaters is again a feature that is given to the end user who will be booking. Apart from that, there will be a requirement of having certain backend jobs. So if I'm saying backend jobs, that means all of these jobs have to execute asynchronously. You cannot simply write a Python program or a Flask route in order to do whatever these jobs are asking for. You have to make sure that you use Celery in order to implement these jobs, so that the execution of these jobs happen asynchronously. So export jobs, reporting jobs, and alert jobs are what the requirement of this project is. Apart from that, there is another core requirement, that is backend performance. And now we will be talking about more details of each of these things that we have just seen. So firstly, the core that is user sign up and login part. So here you have to provide appropriate sign up and login form for both the categories of users, that is admin as well as the other users of the application. This time we have made it mandatory to use the Flask security or JWT based token based authentication. In the previous terms, maybe you would be aware of that we even kind of allowed cookie based authentications. But from this term onwards, we are making it a little bit of more strict. And we are saying that you must use token based authentication on, be it JWT based or Flask security based. The choice is left on to you. And of course, you will have to have suitable models for the users. In case we are using Flask security and its default RBAC feature, you should also be having classes like roles. Uh, the same thing is even provided for admin login. So you should be having appropriate form for an admin to log in, etc. And the app should clearly differentiate, between the users based on their needs. Now, if we talk about theater management, so there were basically two types of management that this application was doing. One was theater management, the other one was show management, and both of these functionalities or features are meant for admin, for people having admin roles. Uh, just a minute, there's a question. Yes, Manishka.
So actually, I had a doubt in the previous slide.
Yeah, tell me.
So actually, I wanted to ask. So you said that we need to implement our BAC, right? So we could. I had a doubt. We could have like same login form for both user and admin, and depending on their credentials, role can be assigned to them, and from there we can take it forward, right?
Absolutely fine. Yes, you can
Oh,
even have a single form for them. Not an issue.
yeah, yeah. That's it. Thank you so much.
Uh, okay, so we were talking about theater management. That means you should be able to perform CRUD operations on the theater entity. That means you should be able to create a new theater, edit any existing details that the theater has, probably the capacity, the images that you would have uploaded for the theater by creating it, or probably some other parameters that you might have populated the theater with. And of course, you should be able to remove a theater. So please make sure whenever you're performing any delete operation in the application, you seek a confirmation from the user so that it is not happening mistakenly. So please make sure that any delete operation is followed by a confirmation from the user. Uh, this is something that we kind of mention in every program statements that we have. So the storage should be able to handle multiple languages. And of course, if you are using SQLite database, so you need not do anything explicitly from your end. It is going to implicitly take care of all of those things. The next thing is going to be show management. So again, this is something that is meant for the admin users only. So once you have a theater in place, so please make sure that before creating a show, one admin must have a theater created before. Like, you cannot create shows without having a theater at all. So this chronology should be maintained. So once the theater is created, uh, admin should be able to create a number of shows within a given theater. So again, an admin should be able to create a new show, edit an existing show, or remove an existing show. Again, if you are doing a delete operation, you should do that with a confirmation from the admin user. Okay, and allocate theaters while creating shows. So this is something that you can add as well. So what is happening? Let's say when you are creating a show, you could show a drop down, to the admin saying that these are all the theaters that you have created. Which theater you want to assign the show to? Now this can be a drop down menu, or if you want to, create a show for multiple theaters, maybe you could have some feature probably on the same interface allowing that, or you could do multiple edits in order to incorporate that. And varied pricing for each theater, that is again the dynamic pricing is something that is kept optional. So core, that is going to be searching for shows as well as theaters. So this is a feature that has to be there for the end users of the application who will be booking the tickets. So I, as an end user for an application like Book My Show, I should be able to browse through all the theaters that are available in my area based on my location, right? And similarly, I should be able to browse through all the shows that are available based on the preferences that I provide. Those preferences can be in the form of location, can be tags, can be ratings, etc., etc. So please make sure that you provide a search feature for an end user to basically filter the things or filter the theaters as well as shows based on certain parameters. Some of those parameters are listed here. One of them is location. The other ones are tags, ratings. Probably you can think of others. You also have to provide a basic home view for a theater. So just like you are asking an admin to give details about a theater when you are asking admin to create it. So you are asking about theater name, you are asking about what location it is currently present at, what is the capacity of the theater. Probably try uploading some images for the theater as well. So these are the things that you can even provide to the learner as a home, or not a learner, basically an end user of the application as a basic home view for a theater. Then now comes the most important part of the application. That means the user should be able to make, ticket bookings via the application. So if the user has all the shows listed in front of him or her, based on the slots, of course, a given show would be available at only so many slots. So the user should be given the detailed information about, let's say, if a user clicks a given show, then you should be showing all the different slots that show is available at, and let the user pick which slot he or she wants to book tickets for. Once the slot is confirmed, you will have to ask the number of seats or the number of tickets that have to be booked. Once the number of tickets or the number of bookings have been selected, you can go ahead and do whatever you want to. So we are not asking you to incorporate the payment feature. This is not a part of the core requirement. So as long as the user is able to make the bookings, this should be automatically updated to the user dashboard is what we all want from you, nothing else. So we don't want you to integrate the payment things, etc. So yeah, but of course, if you want, you can probably have some dummy payment interfaces and can do certain stuff. I guess Python provides Razorpay API. You can make use of that and probably do or add an extra feature. But again, I'm mentioning that it is not a part of the core requirement, so it is completely fine if you don't do that. Okay, the next thing is all right. Now we have come to the batch jobs part of the application. Uh, so whatever we will be discussing from now onwards, they have to be implemented using Celery only. That means the execution of these jobs or these tasks, they have to happen asynchronously only. So first is daily reminder. So there are certain users who will be signing up on your application. So you will have to track their activity, on a given time in a day and see if a particular user has logged into the application in the last 24 hours or probably has, booked a ticket. In case the user has not done either of these, you should probably send a reminder to the user asking the user to first visit the application and do some bookings in case it is possible or feasible. Okay. So this is what the daily reminder task is. You should be able to send a daily reminder with the appropriate message to the users who are either not visiting the application in the past 24 hours or who are not making bookings. You can decide what factor you want to consider. Again, here you can decide the timings. Let's say this job has to be done at 5 p.m. On every evening or 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. doesn't matter. You can decide the timing. We are not imposing any given timing here in this case. Now let's talk about the monthly entertainment report. So this is something that, or this job is something that has to be triggered at the start of every month. So that means this has to be triggered on the first day of every month. So here what you have to do is you first have to fetch the list of all the users. So here users should be excluding the admins because admins should not be sent any monthly entertainment report. This is purely for the users who are making bookings and are not given an admin role in this application. So you first have to fetch a list of all those users who have signed up on this application. You will have to get the data for each of that user. You have to find out which all shows or tickets have been booked by that given user. Probably what are the ratings that have been provided to the shows that the user has booked the tickets for, or any other parameters that you think of could be useful or could make the report or could make the entertainment report more attractive for the user to read. So the chronological order is going to be: firstly, you will have to start a job, and the job should fetch all the users. Then you will have to get the data for each of that user, create a report, send it as an email, and then of course repeat the same activity for the remaining users in your application. So this is what the monthly entertainment report requirement for the application is. So here you have basically two options, or you can even give these two options to the user. The user can opt for getting these reports as form of HTML or as PDF as well. So the user can be given this option and let the user select which one to opt for. In case you are not willing to provide these options to the user, we are even okay with anything that you go with. We are even okay with the HTML formatted report. We are even okay with the PDF format. So this is also left on to you. The next thing is going to be the export as CSV, and this is going to be meant for admin users only. So there is one thing that I think we have clarified here in the second point, that this export is meant for a single theater. That means it has nothing to do with all the theaters that are there in the application. That means you should be having an export button specific to a given theater. And once you do that, you should be able to export or download all the details regarding that particular theater. So basically, you have to download the list of all the shows that that theater has hosted at any particular time. Probably those shows would have been over by that time. their those shows are being currently hosted, or there might be some future commitment systems from the same theater. So you will have to download all of that data so that the admin can review those things. Again, this has to be done using Celery. So make sure that this job execution happens asynchronously. The last part of this is going to be the performance and the caching part. So where we want you to add the caching as well as the caching expiry, uh, so that you can improve the performance of the application as well as the EPA. So these are going to be the recommended features. Well, I cannot really commit you that for you will be getting any additional or bonus marks in case you add these recommended features. But these are probably good to have as when you demonstrate your applications to the level 1 or the level 2 examiners. You basically put put impression in front of them if you have something additional in your application that was not cited as a core requirement. So of course we share all these requirements with the examiners as well, and they do know what is considered as the core requirement or what is considered as something additional. So if they find that someone has put in more efforts than required, so they might be able to appreciate your efforts, and probably you get an indirect benefit from it. You may not get a direct benefit in terms of bonus or additional marks, but yeah, an indirect benefit is definitely something that you can hope for. Well, probably not from all the examiners. Okay. Uh, so yeah, what are we stating as part of the recommended features? So we are asking for well-designed PDF reports. So user can choose between HTML and PDF reports. So if you are building a PDF report, make sure that it looks aesthetically pleasing so that user also finds it interesting to read or to go through it when you send it via email at the start of every month. Apart from that, we also want you to create a unified UI. So if you are using frameworks like Bootstrap, I don't think you need to do anything explicitly here. If you use the constructs well, the application basically becomes responsive automatically without doing any explicit efforts. But you have to make sure that you are following the recommendations and using the constructs in the recommended. Apart from that, there is also another recommended feature that is going to be add to desktop feature. That means you can have a PWA version of the application. The optional part is going to be the styling and the aesthetics of the application. So of course, you can decide on these things. As we also mentioned that Bootstrap is something that you can make use of, but it is not mandatory for you to use. And if you are using Bootstrap, I hope you are also working on improving the aesthetics of your application. And predict popularity of a show venue based on previous trends. So this is going to involve some kind of data analytics. Of course, the dynamic pricing will also do. So in case you have time and you want to again add something extra in your application, you can go ahead and add these features too. Evaluation. Okay, I guess that is okay. I'll quickly walk you through the evaluation part as well. So once you are done completing the implementation for your project, you are also supposed to create a brief 2 to 3 minute presentation video for your project where you will be explaining certain things about your project. So those things will include a small introduction about yourself, uh, the application theme, on what all features you have implemented in the application. You also have to submit a project report that should not be of more than 2 pages, and where you have to describe the overall system architecture for the project implementation along with the database design that you go with. And you will have to basically put this project report in the same zip file that you are going to submit on the new submission portal. uh, you can avoid keeping this presentation video in the same submission file in the zip file, because you can simply provide a link to the presentation video in the project report, and an examiner can simply navigate to your project presentation video after going through the project. So please make sure that you give the appropriate permissions for all others, or whoever is evaluating your assignments can see whatever you would have posted. Or basically you have to make sure that you are making the resources available to the entire IITM domain, because the examiners do have some study domain email IDs, so they should be having the access to this as well. So make sure that you give appropriate access when you put or upload these files to Google Drive. In case uh, you are providing links from other platforms, let's say I see many people tend to upload their videos to YouTube and share that links. that is completely fine too. But if you are working with Drive or any other platform that requires certain permissions to be given to the end users to view or access a file, please make sure that you give the appropriate permissions beforehand. In case you are not able to do that, uh, of course, there might not be something or may not get direct reduction in your marks, but you are basically leaving a bad impression on the examiner. The examiner can even point it out during the call as well. May not be the best of the things that you would want to have. Uh, Instructions, I guess it is okay. Yeah, I think we have pretty much covered everything from the problem statement. All right, now I'm okay to take any doubts that you may have, and it would be better if we basically create a few things. So, uh, yes, Monishka, please.
So actually, I had this doubt for theater management. There's a point which says that storage should handle multiple languages. Can you explain this point? So basically, what I'm able to understand is show will have details about the movie and the language, right? But how can we add language for theater?
So let's say if the title of the theater itself is something that has to be written in Hindi, right? The title of the theater itself. So how do you do that? So
Okay.
in order to make the title of the theater, being displayed in Hindi language, you will have to first get the Hindi translation, or at least the translation of what you wanted to have the title as. So you will have to paste that exact translation in the theater title. And if your database storage is able to, store that data and interpret that somehow, and is also able to give you the same output when you are requesting for the data, that is what we are calling as, multiple language support.
So you're talking about the name of the theater.
Not only the name, means any other thing. Maybe the description can have some Hindi words.
Okay. What if we decide to give simple ID to the theater, say theater 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, something like that, and no description.
I would say it would be a bad design.
Okay, okay, okay. Another question I had, sir. This is in slide number 14. Can you explain once again, please?
Slide number 14. What is
Yes.
it? Export as CSV for a single theater. So an admin user who would have created a number of theaters in the application, let's say I am a theater owner and I have, let's say, a couple of theaters. And what I do is I list those theaters on this application. So what I want is I want to see that how many shows my theater has hosted, right, on this application. So what I want is I simply want to download all the data or export all the data that is available on this application with respect to my theater. So I want to see how many shows this theater has hosted so far, what were the time slots those shows were offered in, what were the number of tickets that were booked for that given show, and what was the total revenue that I made from that. Things like that. Means I have just given you a simple thing that I can think of, but depending on the parameters that you decide to have for theater, you could also have some additional information exported to the admin when he or she request for a export or download.
Sir, so basically, this is mostly about analytics,
Sorry, this is mostly about.
the analytics and the data basically that we are generating, right?
Yes, yes, that is about the data. Yes, that is
Okay.
already there in the database.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, just a minute, please. This for the delay. Now, like, we can move to the next person. Abhijit.
Yeah, hello, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, I have two queries. First is about like I am taking Mat 1 and Mat 2 core, both projects simultaneously this term. So should our problem statement for Mat 2 will be version 2 of grocery store or version 2 of this movie or like
You have
theater?
the option to choose. We are going to give you these two options. Either you can go with ticket show or you can go with the other one, that is grocery store. The problem for grocery store should be updated by the
By the uh, uh,
end of this week.
Okay. Another thing, a request, sir, like if you can share us a dummy video and a dummy PDF file how to present our report, then it will be great. Like
Sure, sure. We can probably give you a sample format. We expect you to write your project report in, and yeah, we can share that.
and in a simple video. So just like we, how can we approach to the video or some instructions?
Uh, okay, all right. I'll think about it. For report, we have the format ready with us. For video, let me think. How can we give that?
Okay. My last question is that like do we get more live sessions on projects like on Mad 1 and Mad 2 simultaneously this term? Like how to approach problem, or like if we have some problem in creating something, like most probably like I attempted Madvan projects in the generator, I think, for that a blog light part, but I get confused when there is a point says that we need to create API explicitly, but I already created the whole project. I think like everything is working except that part, so I just dropped the project. I do not get any, like, obviously I reaches to the end date, I think, so that's why I have to drop the project. So like these kind of queries can be answerable like in further sessions.
Definitely, you can post these queries in any of the live sessions that we'll be hosting going forward. So you basically have three platforms through which you can, get the help. You can just one is going to be, of course, these live sessions, instructor-led live sessions. The schedule for which I have already told you in the beginning. We are going to host such type of sessions on every Monday between 6 and 8 p.m. This is at least going to be the frequency for the first 2 weeks, and we'll take a stock after these 2 weeks and see if the frequency of such sessions has to be increased. The other platform is going to be Discourse, of course. You can post your queries there and get them answered. Uh, all right, I am probably
Okay,
not
and
active on Discourse on these days due to some other commitments, but yeah, I'll try to be more active on Discourse
yes
later
sir,
on.
and we do going to get some mentors, like I filled that mentorship form.
Uh, yeah, mentors, we are working on it, and that is going to be the third thing you are going to get support from. So I guess the deadline for the application form for seeking a mentor is closing today. I guess this midnight. Once the deadline is closed, we'll see what are the numbers and we'll accordingly arrange for the mentors.
Yes sir, thank you, that's all from my side.
Uh, yes, Mayank,
Uh, there can be more than one admin for this application, right?
definitely they can. Yes.
And also, we have received a mail like for mentor support sessions. So, is there any fees associated with that or not?
Right now, I'm not sure. I think there is no fees, but I cannot commit to it right now. Let's see. As I was saying, maybe we'll have to wait for the deadline to close and see the number of requests that we are getting for seeking mentor support. After that, we'll be able to take a call.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mayank is done. Gurneet, Gurneet, are you there? Okay, she does not seem to be available here in this call. Uh, all right, so basically, I have, yes, Gurneet.
Yeah, so I was asking, so I've actually taken both the projects together. So for me, I'll have to do the different version of grocery store format too, right? So you said that the statement will be released in some time.
Mhm.
Still, we'll only get like a month's time maybe to get it done if I'm right. Will the
So
deadline changed because it's
See, we are going to open the project submission window hopefully from June 15th. That is going to be 13, 14, 15. So that is going to be Thursday, the coming Thursday. We'll try to publish the follow statement by that time.
okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? Can someone share this talk? Which talk? Is it a problem statement you are referring to?
Sir, one
Yes,
another
level in.
question.
Yeah, yes, please.
Sir, there should be a sign up page for admin also, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I
Sorry,
have question.
sorry.
I have question that what will be the deadline for submission? Is it the only 8th August?
Yes, it is August 8th only.
Okay, so after that there will be no any submission.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is a that is even a hard deadline for us. So please make sure that you are able to complete your project and submit it by that time, as no extension is expected at least for this term, I would say.
Sir, another quick query, like for the best project award, like do we get in MAD 1 and MAD 2 separately, or like some there are some criteria? Like what are the criteria for the best project award?
Uh, so yes, people do get best project certificates at the end of the term if their project is nominated. So see, what happens is, I will tell you about the procedure. So we instructors are not directly associated conducting these vivas. So we generally get the nominations from the examiners who are doing the viva for us, be it a level one examiner or be it a level two examiner. So at the end of every term, once all the vivas are over, we do seek, nominations from each of those examiners from level one as well as level two. And after receiving their nominations, then we basically go through each and every presentation video or the project that was nominated, and then we basically pick up the best out of those. That is how it works. So if you want yourself to be nominated for that, you have to make sure that you either get nominated by level one or level two. For level one, it is generally, or we basically seek more nominations from level one. Because level two examiners or level two Viva generally focuses on the technical knowledge of the student, and level one Viva, that is generally conducted by a TAs only. They basically have sufficient time with them to evaluate your feature based on the requirements that you have, because the examiners might not be always aware about the code requirements or the recommended requirements of the project, despite giving them all the information, as they might forget things from here and there, but TAs have a complete idea about all of these requirements. So we basically seek more nominations from level 1. So the best thing to get nominated for best for getting a best project certificate is to complete all the core requirements, complete all the recommended requirements as well as the optional requirements. Then only you will be, uh, hopefully, you will be nominated by one of the level 1 TAs or whoever will be doing the level 1.
Yeah, like subsequent queries that like MAD 1 and MAD 2 both have different project awards, like
Night 1 and Night 2 both have.
different project awards, like different best project award, or though
Yes, yes,
or both.
yes. Yeah. They both are independent. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Like I try to do, do my best.
Hello, sir.
Just a moment, I will, yeah, yes, yes.
Sir, there will be only one admin for the application, right?
No, there can be multiple admins.
Okay, sir. The slide says one required admin and other users, and it says
At least
only.
one. At least one.
Okay, okay. So it is not. And also there is no mention
There,
of
with
admin
within
sign
this,
up page. Actually,
sorry.
there is no mention of admin sign up page. Only login page mentioned on the slide.
So we have just written form for username and password can be same as normal user. So we have not explicitly mentioned about login or sign up here. So it's not explicitly mentioned.
No, sir. The code it says user sign up and login, but for in the admin slide it says only admin login.
Okay, it's okay. You need to have sign up page as well.
Okay, okay. Sir.
Sir, shall I ask?
Just a minute. Yeah, yes, Pallavi.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. I'm in initial stage of my project. I want to share my desktop. So, could you give permission?
Please wait for that as the recording is still on. I will do
Okay,
that
okay.
once I stop the recording.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you.
So do we have any other queries from anyone at this point of time? Okay. Yes, Monishka.
So I have a doubt about on this point. Add an admin user whenever a new database is created. Can you explain this again?
Sorry, add a.
Add an admin user whenever a new
See,
database.
the application has a requirement of having at least one admin. So
Right,
let's say when you are flushing all the data from your database, you have to make sure that when a user logs in, there is at least something available for the user to book.
right.
Right? And how the user will be booking, at least there should be some theater, some show that should be added by some of the admins. That is why we are expecting that the application must have at least one admin before a user can start booking stuff.
Okay. So I mean, so basically, this works like normally. Obviously, when we are starting a ticket booking system, we have to have a database, and there will be an admin user for sure, right? So other
Yes.
than that, there's nothing much to this, right?
What do you mean by nothing much?
So like I so you said that when before a user can start booking, there needs to be an admin and certain set of theaters and shows, right? So what
Mhm.
I'm talking about is there will definitely be that, but other than that, is there any other functionality that we have to add?
No, it's nothing as such. Whatever are listed here, these are the things that each of the end user or the admin user should be able to perform. So once you are opening the application for the first time, you make sure that you have already added an admin. You log in through your admin credentials, you create at least a theater and some shows associated to that, and then you can probably ask the users to come in.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Harsh, Shalish,
Yes, good evening, sir.
yes.
I have seen out that you are addressed in the previous state of this session, but at that time I had a low connectivity of internet.
Harsh, I'm not sure, but I could not hear you properly. Voice is not
Okay,
clear.
sir. Okay, sir. 1 minute. Sir, can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Sir, I have same doubt that you addressed in the previous state of this session that I am new to this course as this is my first time, first attempt for the theory also. So I am new to the terms redis and celery. So how should I go with that?
I think I told one other learner here in the call some time back that
Yes, sir.
if you're
At
doing
that
the
time,
theory
my
based project,
internet was not.
okay, I'll just repeat it for you. So if you're planning to do both the theory and project courses together in this term itself, you have to make sure that you stay ahead of the course. The course runs for 12 weeks. You have to make sure that you complete this course by the end of sixth week or seventh week, ideally by sixth week, because you will have to have at least 2 weeks in your hand to complete your project. The deadline is August 8th, and that is the end of week 8. Right? So you have to make sure that you complete all the course contents, get the required knowledge by the end of week 6, or let's say midway through week 7, so that you get 10 days with you to write the implementation, complete the project, and submit it before the deadline. So you have to be stay ahead of the course. This is what I was saying.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Or the other option that you have
Sir,
is you can drop the course or the project course basically. You still have the option available. So you can take a decision on that.
okay, sir. But what am I thinking is, that eventually the weeks videos will be uploaded. So if I want to stay ahead of the course, I should use external resources, right?
Of course, you will have to. Well, you will have to refer to external resources even if you are going with a normal course base. That is something which is very required for the application development courses. You cannot learn everything from the course contents that we are providing. 3 or 4 hours video. Nothing can be learned. Or means not all the things can be learned with the help of this. So, of course, you will have to refer to external resources in any case, even if you want to stay ahead of the course, or even if you are going with the normal pace with the course.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Harish.
Uh, Sir, these sessions that is being conducted on Monday, will they be doubt clearing sessions or there will be any demo?
Will they be?
Like doubt clearing sessions, or will there be any project demo or any such activities?
Uh, okay, so see, I'm yet to take a call on this. I don't know what do I do in the next session at least. Whether I take it as a doubt clearing session or something where I demonstrate something for the others. So, not really sure as of now. But we have done some demonstrations, but they were basically started at a later part of the course, and of course there were recommendations of starting those things early from the next term onwards. But currently, looking at the crowd, I'm not really sure what to do because if there's a mixed crowd, there are people who are doing the projects along with the theory. There are people who are doing project courses alone, and they have already completed theory in one of the previous steps. So even if I start with the demonstrations, I expect that there is going to be a significant chunk of learners who will face difficulties understanding that. So not really sure as of now. Maybe I'll have to think about it a little bit and then take a call.
Right, sir. Thank you.
But anyways, whatever the decision would be, I would communicate with all of you via announcement. It's like I said it for this session today. Okay. Yes, Matthew.
Hi. Actually,
Yeah.
last semester I completed MAD 1 and MAD 1 project together. So there were some interactive section lectures in a midweek or something somewhere, which was a very base for the whole project. So if you could arrange if you could help us giving a interactive section on basic creation of each Vue.js or usage of Vue.js and Celery and or the whole process. I remember the session on the folder creation and all those things. There was a live interactive session in MAD1 group and project, and it was really helped me to complete MAT 1 project. So if some video screen sharing session, if you could arrange in future weeks, like very soon, it would be very helpful. Thank you. Because this time I took MAT 2 theory and project together. Yes.
Okay, Matthew. So see, there are multiple things to it. The very first thing I'm really concerned about is basically the audience strength. Right, for this session alone, I can see that there are only 35 participants, and if I tell you the number of students who are doing projects or at least have enrolled for the project for this term, the number is 1,000 plus. And out of those 1,000 plus, I'm seeing these many participants in the session, and I cannot really predict the strength in the upcoming sessions. So that is the very first thing. The next thing I get,
Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt. Because like you said, from next session onward, there will be this section also YouTube stream. YouTube. This session will be available in YouTube, right? If next session, if we have it in YouTube, others will also work with it. Yeah.
yeah, means that I understand, but this is one of the major concerns that I have. That is the participant strength. I don't know. Maybe I'll try doing some demonstrations and see, the
Yes, yes,
participants.
yes, like very
I'll be
basic
making a few announcements.
yeah, yes, very basic demonstration. It was very helpful in MAD 1 project, which yeah, I think you got what I am saying. Thank
I
you.
understood. I understood. Okay. Yeah, it means one thing is this, basically the strength concern. The other one is, like I just told you, while addressing the previous query, that we have a mixed, learners. We have a mixed group of learners this time. So there are people who are doing the projects for the first time. They're even doing the theory course for the first time, and there are people who have already done, theory in one of the previous terms. So if I, straight away jump into the demonstration part, those who are doing the theory course even for this time will be, basically puzzled. They will probably not be able to understand what we are discussing in that session. So this may not be advantageous to, that chunk of learners who are doing theory along with this. So that's what I have to take a decision on. And to be very honest, even I'm not sure at this point of time. I'll have to think about it a little bit and then I'll get back to you. But I'll make sure that I make the announcement before the session starts, or at least one day before, telling you guys about what is going to happen in the next session.
Sure. Thank you so much. Sure.
Yes, go Nick.
Sir, I know the grocery statement is yet to come out, but how much of the MAD 1 code version will be useful for the MAD 2 one?
I
Like,
don't think so. Anything except the backend.
I'm sorry, I
Some kind
can't hear
of
you,
backend
sir.
can.
I'm losing you.
Sorry.
I can't hear you clearly.
So I was saying that I don't think anything else can be utilized from the Mat1 project except the backend code.
Only the backend code.
Yes.
Okay.
And you should be using the backend code only if you have not shared the Mat1 project implementation with anyone else or put it out on a public platform.
Okay, obviously, sir. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, when an admin deletes a theater, then it will delete all the source for the theater also.
Sorry.
So when an theater is been deleted,
Mhm.
then all the source related to that theater will also.
Uh, Ideally, yes, but you also have to make sure that a given set of shows that you are trying to delete, they are not associated with any other theater. You also have to make sure this thing. If a given show is only associated with the theater that you are trying to delete, then that is completely fine.
Okay, so there is one-to-many relationship between theater and source.
Of course.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Uh, okay. One issue is the folder creation. So see, for this folder creation, we have basically added a sample folder structure in the guidelines document that we have released for this stuff, and we have given you a sample folder structure that you can adapt to. So it basically lists down the different types of extensions of files that you must have in your project folder. One must be of JS, one must be of PY, or things related to that. So you can probably refer to the guidelines document for getting an idea of a sample project structure. And of course, when we proceed further, or probably just before the you know uh, submission deadline or the submission deadline comes, we will probably also do a small demonstration of how an ideal project structure can be. Of course, the validation Google form will be made available to you once the submission window opens. So you can make use of that validation Google form as many times as you want. And there is no restriction on the validation Google form, but make sure that you at least use it once before you submit on the main portal, because you cannot submit it afterwards once you have submitted on the portal. Of course, you will be given an additional chance to correct your mistake in case the folder structure is invalid. But why do you want to waste one of your chances? So much of hurry. Yeah, yes.
Sir, can you please confirm the relationship between shows and theaters once again?
Theaters and shows. So one theater can have number of shows associated to it, and a show can also be associated to a multiple theater. So it is going to be many to many.
Okay, sir.
So I was, can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So I was thinking that we have to manage shows time wise. So for example, say we have theater one, right?
Mhm.
And it's running one show from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then another show from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So I was
Mhm.
thinking like that we have to manage shows time wise. So So one theater can have like two, three or more shows per day. So I was thinking about having a one to many relationship with respect to theaters and shows.
Uh, so the case that I'm assuming that a show can also be associated to multiple theaters. This is what I'm assuming. So at what all theaters a show is hosted, that is something or that is the data that you have to store in some other table, which gives you a track of the theater as well as the show. So that's why I'm thinking of having a many to many relationship between these two identities. But yes, a one to many relationship is also possible. Let's say if you want a show to be associated with only one theater, I am even okay with that. So you can also have a theater to show, that is one to many relationship between these two entities.
Yes. Can I just say one more thing?
Mhm.
So what I was basically thinking about is, like for each theater, we can have the name, the description, etc. for the theater, and obviously the show details. And after that, for each show, we can have say the time and the name of the movie that's running. Let's say also a description for a movie, the time given, and things like that. So I was thinking to manage like that. As in, whenever we go to a PVR, they have a number of different theaters and each theater has different show timings, so something like that.
Ah, okay, that is fine.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, Puneet.
Abhishek sir, good evening. So, my understanding of what Munishka was trying to say is that I have a master table of theaters, I have a master table of movies, and I'm creating a transaction table of creating shows out of, by relationship between the movie and the theater, right?
So you are basically trying to establish a many to many relationship. Is that correct?
Yes. Isn't that the way? Because I have courses, I have students. Students can take multiple courses. So, shouldn't
Yes, that's
movies
what
be
I was trying
separated?
to tell you. There are two cases possible. Like you can either go with one of these approaches. One is that a show or a theater can have multiple number of shows. At the same time, a show can also be associated to multiple theaters. This is one approach. The second approach is that a theater can only or can have multiple number of shows. So you are assuming here that a show can only be associated to only one theater at a time. So if you want other theater to have the same show, you will have to create another record for the same show in the show table in that
Okay. Okay.
in
All
that
right.
scenario.
So show is actually what you meant by movie or an event, right? Show is not
Yes.
actually an. Okay. All right. I thought show was just one instance of that event happening. All right.
Yes. So
Thank
there are
you.
basically two approaches. You can go with either of these. Of course, the ideal one is going to set up a many to many relationship. That
Right.
is the best way.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Anyone?
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi, Yash.
Sir, we can decide where we want to use caching, or it's compulsory to use caching wherever we are querying the database and storing it in the Redis database.
Uh, then you can decide. Yes, of course, you can decide which all endpoints you want to cache. We won't be telling you because we don't know what all endpoints we are going to have.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anyone here in this call? Okay, so I'll take that
Sir,
silence as no.
sir, if you are stopping recording, I want to share my
Yeah, Bala,
screen.
I remember. I do remember it. All right, so I guess I can now stop the recording. The YouTube link for the current session is not yet created. I will be creating it once the meeting ends and I'll upload the recording. But one thing I could do is I could share the recording link for this session immediately as soon as I get it or as soon as it is generated on the discourses. For uploading it to YouTube might take some time.
So I had a last doubt. Actually, I was thinking about making the entire backend first so that it is kind of reusable later, and
Okay.
having like separate codes for backend and frontend, and then integrating them later. So, do you think it would be a good idea, or should I use some other approach?
Okay, so you want to complete the entire backend first.
Actually, I've already worked on a backend project. So, and just recently, so I was a little more familiar with that. So, I thought it might be easier for me to start working on the backend and make it completely and then move towards the front end.
So you can do that, but if you want to take my recommendation, I would say that I'll take both of these things side by side. I'll probably write a feature, I'll write a backend for that, I'll write a front end for that, and then see for that. I'll prefer doing that so that I also get to know that I was able to get at least one feature working. I am actually able to see it on the screen. So that kinds of give the people a motivation as well to proceed with the application implementation. For
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
that is going to be my recommendation. Of course, you can go with whatever you would like to.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm stopping the recording. I hope there are no more queries right now.